Now, let's take a look at an example here. The example is what we saw at the beginning of this section. We want to look at the commute times in Los Angeles, and we want to organize quantitative data. So again, using the daily commute times in Los Angeles in the table below, we're going to follow the steps that we saw above to construct a frequency distribution as shown in table 2.2. And here it says to use 7 classes. So they're telling us how many classes to use for this particular problem. Okay, so here is our data. So this was the data that was given. Okay, so it says select 7 as the number of desired classes. So if it's telling us that 7 is the number of desired classes, now we need to figure out how to calculate the class width. Now remember that the class width is the following. The class width is the maximum data value minus the minimum data value divided by the number of classes. So let's take a look at our values here. So what represents the maximum data value in our data set? Well, if we look at all the numbers, we're going to see that 90 is going to represent the maximum data value. Okay, now what is the minimum data value? Well, the minimum data value is 5. So therefore 5 is the minimum data value. And then we need to divide it by the number of classes. Well, we were given that, and that was 7. So therefore the number of classes was 7. So now if we take 90, subtract 5, and divide it by 7, we get a 12.1. Now again, as we discussed earlier, we want to be able to now approximate this. So you may not want to go to 13. You may want to go to a number that might be a little bit better for you to read between each class. So that's why we're approximating it and rounding it up to 15. So now that we round up to 15, it is more a convenient number for commute time measurements. Now step 3, we're going to select 0 as the first lower class limit because it is below the smallest value 5 and is a very convenient starting point for commute time. So therefore you're going to see here that we have 0 and then with a dash here. So this is going to be our first lower class limit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the class width of 15 to the starting value of 0 to get the second lower class limit of 15. And then we're going to continue to add the class width of 15 until we have 5 lower class limits. Now the lower class limits are therefore 0, 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, and 90. So here, let's take a look here. So our first lower class limit again is 0. We add 15. There's our second class that has a lower limit of 15. Add 15 to that. There we have 30. Add 15 to that. There's 45. Add 15 to that is 60. Add another 15 is 75. And then add another 15 is 90. So how many classes do we have? You should see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now that we list the lower class limits vertically from the list, now we want to be able to identify the corresponding upper class limits. Okay, so now the upper class limits are going to be the following. Okay, since we know that the first class starts with a 15, right? The second class starts with a 15. Well, this number here needs to be 14. So that's we know that this is going to be the first class, goes from 0 to 14. And then if we add 15 to 14, we get 29. Similarly, we're going to add 15 to 29, we get 44. We add 15 to 44, we get 59. We add 15 to 59, we get 74. We add 15 to 74, we get 89. And then we add 15 to 89, and we get 104. So therefore, now we have our classes set up. Now in step 6, we want to enter a tally mark for each data value in the appropriate class, and then add the tally marks to find the frequencies shown in the table. So, in this case here, we have our table, our values, and so we want to find out what are all the values that are in between 0 and 14. So what we're going to do is now we're going to come in here, and then we want to be able to determine, okay, well, what are all the values that are in between 0 and 14? So if we go down here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6. So we have 6 tally marks, and we say that there's 6 in that class. Okay, next, now we want to be able to find out the values that are in between 15 and 29. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and then 18. So again, we tally that we have 18 marks, and the frequency is 18. Now let's take a look at the values between 30 and 44. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So therefore, putting our tally marks, we get 14. Now let's take a look at all the values that are in between 45 and 59. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like we have 5. Okay, how many are in between 60 and 74? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 tally marks, and therefore we have 5. How many are between 75 and 89? We have 1. And it looks like that's all we have. So we have 1, therefore we have 1 frequency. And then the last one is, how many are between 90 and 104? Well, we have 1, and therefore we have 1, and therefore there's the frequency.